working with people who are of different races or ethnicities, hold different religious views, are gay, lesbian, bisexual, or transgender, are from a generation that you don't relate to, may not speak English well, are from a country or a culture that you're not familiar with, or of the opposite gender, or even simple things like tech savvy versus tech phobic. All of these ways we can be different from one another. And believe me, if you're frustrated when you're working with someone who's not like you, trust me, they can be frustrated working with you too. One of the most profound and common examples I get all the time are people who are older, let's say my age, people who have been working for a while, who are frustrated by working with millennials. And they'll say, wah, 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 wah. Why do they think that that they don't have to pay their dues? Everybody wants to be president of the company by the time they're 28. Why do they think they get to go to their yoga class? And the young people are like, how come he can't open an attachment? There's frustration on both sides. But if you're struggling with that diversity, working with people who are not like you, you are normal. You're not a bad person. You're not a racist. You're not alone. Your discomfort is normal. You're normal. I just want that to sink in. Because a lot of people think that they're supposed to feel bad about their struggle. I don't get this person. We're never going to see eye to eye. And you feel bad about yourself. You're supposed to love everybody. Kumbaya. No. It's not normal. It is normal to affiliate with people who are just like you. That's what's normal. So if it feels uncomfortable, it's because it is. And to give you a sense of just how real this discomfort is, scientists have studied this. So they used, in this example, for affiliation, they used sorority sisters and fraternity brothers. Because if you've ever known anybody who or been involved in a fraternity or sorority, then you know that there's a strong sense of affiliation, a sense of oneness with that group. So the exercise that they gave 3 sorority sisters and 3 fraternity brothers, multiplied times many control groups, was solve a murder mystery. You've got a murder mystery to solve and you got 20 minutes to solve it. And they were given clues. So they get to work on solving the murder mystery. And 5 minutes into the exercise, some of the groups were joined by a 4th person who was also a sorority sister or a fraternity brother, but from a different sorority or a different fraternity. In other words, it was an outsider, someone not like them, someone different. So what happened? What happened is all of the groups that had the outsider solved the mystery more accurately in less time. The outsiders made the teams better, significantly better, statistically better, doubling their chances of solving the murder mystery accurately and in less time. However, when asked how did that feel, every one of those participants said, oh my gosh, that was horrible. Even though they were successful, that was horrible. We didn't feel like we were being very effective. So the point is, working with diverse team members felt harder because it is harder, but it produces a better outcome. So if you are working with people who are not like you and it feels like you are pushing the elephant up the stairs, you're not crazy. It's harder. It actually is harder to do business that way, but it produces a better outcome, and that's why it's important. The next 2 slides, and I'm not overselling, are going to change your life. Every one of you is going to give me $10,000 at the break for these next 2 slides, all right? Working with women. Here's how you work with women. Women value expansive choices and seeing all of our options. We are not overwhelmed when we are faced with a lot of options. It's actually the opposite. We feel empowered. I can look at 175 different colors of blouses and I know I want the tangerine one because I looked at all 175. And that's the one I want. Men, on the other hand, want their choices simplified. I'm sorry, you guys, but there is a reason your clothes only come in 3 colors. Black, navy, khaki. That's all you have. Look at you. Seriously. Black, navy, khaki. What's it like, ladies, to be a guy for just one day and stand in front of that closet, throw it open, and go, wow, what's it going to be, black, navy, or khaki? I can't decide. Wow, yeah. The magic number for men is 3. 2 is not enough choice. 4 is way too much. Don't overwhelm a guy, all right? So if I give a man 3 choices, he can choose. Should we try it? You ready? Chocolate, vanilla. Yes, you. Chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry? Hello? What? Vanilla? He said vanilla. I said chocolate, vanilla, or strawberry, and he said vanilla. Maybe vanilla is actually not his favorite flavor. Maybe his favorite flavor of ice cream is mint chocolate chip or butter pecan. But when given just 3 choices, he was able to choose. Should we try another one? Blonde, brunette, redhead. Careful. The point is, men want their choices in 3. Fun fact, men buy more electronics than any other consumer group. More flat screens, more tablets, more phones, more calculators, more computers, more cameras, anything electronic you guys buy. You're the target for electronics. Haven't you ever noticed that when you go shopping for electronics, all of the pricing is done in groups of 3? Even stuff that's not electronics that is heavily marketed to men, like tires, it's done in groups of 3. Why? Because it works. So here's how you would use this information. If you are dealing with a woman, let's say she's a customer, then you would give her all of the options relative to an insurance plan, or all of the payment options, or whatever. You would say, here's all the different ways, all the different products that we have, let's talk them through. She will be patient with that. With a guy, you would say, our 3 most popular products for your kind of auto insurance are these. Or our 3 most popular payment plans are these. Or whatever. If you give a guy 3, 99% of the time, that's going to work. If a guy wants more information, he'll always ask. But start with 3 and you'd be amazed how far you can get. I manage my husband totally different ever since I figured this out. Tell me if this is what it's like at your house on Friday nights. If for our house, it's been a long week, we're tired, and it goes like this. We stand there in the kitchen staring at each other, and he's like, what do you want to do about dinner? And I'm like, I don't know. What do you want to do? I don't know. Do you want to go out or do you want to stay in? I don't know. Do you want to go out or do you want to stay in? So now I don't do this anymore. I'm tired of that. So now I just go to him on Friday nights and I'm like, Thai, Mexican, or burgers on the grill? And he's like, burgers on the grill. You're welcome. Why is it important? Because if you don't open your eyes and open your business mind to different perspectives, then you could miss something big. You could miss something big. Now, not to be sexist, but I'm going to direct this question to the women in the room. First of all, where's all the women? I see some women. Hands up, let me see. All right. So ladies, no right or wrong answer here. Just a quick question, ladies. Do you know this brand? Skinny Girl? Most of the women said yes, Skinny Girl. And I'm betting that most of the men aren't as familiar with this brand. What this brand is a good tasting cocktail that has 20% fewer calories in it than most cocktails. So cosmopolitans, margaritas, things like that. Here's the backstory on it. Bethany Frankel, who was one of the original housewives, like, Real Housewives of New York or whatever, had this idea. Wow, what if I could make a good tasting cocktail that had way fewer calories but still tasted good? We'll call it Skinny Girl. What if I had created this cocktail, women would buy it? And she approached every single major liquor company, every single one of them, and pitched her idea for like $1 million to develop the brand. Every one of them. Every one of them turned her down. All of them are headed by men. And I'm not saying that this is the reason, but it's a fact. All of them are headed by men. She's pitching a product that is targeted to women, and all of them said, we don't really see the merit in that idea. Nah. But 2 years later, she went ahead and forged ahead with her own brand. 2 years later, Beam, as in Jim Beam, bought her brand back from her for $100 million because it was so successful. I believe that what this was a failure of perspective. That when pitched this concept, many men were like, I don't really know if it would go anywhere. Why? Because most men don't really have to count calories the way women do. It's just not as hard for you guys. If there had been some women in the room, I promise you that those women would have said, hold up, wait a second, are you talking 20% fewer calories? You mean I can have a couple of drinks and not blow my entire day's calories? Heck yeah, I'll buy that. And they did. They did, to the tune of 400 million cases of skinny girls in the first 2 years of sales. So you can miss something big when you don't get diverse perspectives. Agree to disagree. When you disagree with someone, rather than trying to start an argument or persuade them, just simply say, I see it differently. Look at this picture. What is that? Is that 606? Or is that 909? It's all in your perspective. But you can say, if someone's saying it's 909, and I go, I see it differently. I see it as 606. If you say I see it differently, it's not antagonistic, it's not judgmental, it's not saying that you're right or superior, it's not combative, and it's not trying to persuade. You're simply saying, I see it differently. And I promise you that if you say, I see it differently, chances are somebody's going to say, how do you see it? And you're going to actually start a constructive conversation about something, even when you disagree. Here's another 4 magic words. 4 magic words. I need your help. Not can you help me. They work in very different ways. Here's why. If I say, ask me, can you help me? No. So if Ken says, I can say, you know what, Ken, I would love to, but I am really jamming on this meeting for David. He wants these numbers by 3. I can't. When he asks me a yes or no question, the answer can be no. When you need help, that's not a good answer. But, let's flip it now, Ken. If I go to Ken and I say, Ken, I need your help, you're going to say, with what? Or what do you need? Or how can I help? Or some version of that. And there's no coaching here. He did it instinctually, and here's why. We are tribal by nature. This is science. Humans, mankind, is not designed to live in isolation. We are designed to live together in communities. That is why people who are incarcerated, who get sent to solitary confinement, lose their minds. Lose their minds. They literally go crazy because there's nothing natural about it. What is natural to us is to live in communities, no matter how primitive. And in order to live in a community, you have to help each other. So we are designed for our survival to help each other. So when Ken says to me, or if I say to Ken, I need your help, he's going to say, with what? Now, partly there's a curiosity factor. With what? What do you need? But we are also, that's instinctual. And so I might talk to him about what I need, and if he is not the guy, then what's your name, sir? Ryan. Then he might say, you know what, Kelly, now that I understand what you need, I'm really not the person who has that answer, but let me talk to Ryan because he knows. He's now involved and he will help. Don't say, can you help me? The answer can be no. If you say, I need your help, the answer is never going to be no. The answer is always going to be, how can I help, or what do you need, or some version of that. And take the emotion out of things. Business is really actually quite non-emotional. We are the ones who make it emotional. So I worked with a guy one time who was the biggest pessimist I have ever known in my entire life. I'm an optimist. So, it wasn't just glass half full, half empty. He was literally a vampire who would suck the lifeblood out of anything. No, seriously. He was absolutely awful. We actually came up with a nickname for him. We called him Eeyore, right? You remember Eeyore from Winnie the Pooh? Here's an example. Could be worse. Not sure how, but it could be. Holy mother of God, I would say to him, good morning, and he'd be like, what's so good about it? I'm like, oh my God. We dreaded working with him. Literally, we would go into a meeting, we would steel ourselves because it was just that vampire, blood-sucking, soul-crushing, dream-crushing. He was horrible. He was horrible. And I tried to like him. I tried to like him because I try to like everybody and I try to get along. And I could not like him. I could not like him. There was nothing likable about him. He was talented, he was smart, all these things, but he was not likable. And I beat myself up for that. I kept thinking there was something I was doing wrong. That maybe if I was a better person, I could possibly like this guy. And then one day I had an epiphany. I don't have to like him. I don't have to like him. I just have to work with him. Big difference. I don't have to invite him over to my backyard barbecue on Saturday. I don't have to socialize with him. I don't have to go to lunch with him. I don't have to do anything with him, but I do have to work with him. And once I took the emotion out of it, everything got easier because liking and disliking are actual emotions. So if you get unemotional about it, you're off the hook, except that it is okay for you to not like somebody. Sometimes people are going to say the wrong thing. Sometimes people are going to say the wrong thing. You're going to say the wrong thing. Your staff is going to say the wrong thing. Sometimes people are going to say the wrong thing, and we have a choice. We have a choice when that happens. We can pick up the weapon, and we can be like, what do you mean by that? That was a racist, sexist, awful thing to say, whatever. Or we can bring it back to business. Sometimes when people say the wrong thing, it's not because they're racist or sexist or bigoted or anything like that. It's literally just something careless or ignorant. They don't really mean it the way it sounds. It's probably not mean-spirited. So here's another story. A colleague of mine, her name is Amber. Amber is a young black attorney. She's a woman, and she lives in Kansas City. Amber had to go to a deposition, and the deposition was going to be done in Salina at the other attorney's office. So she goes to this other attorney's office, and she walks in, and there's an older woman at the reception desk, and the woman says, "Can I help you?" And Amber says, "I'm here for the deposition." And the older woman receptionist said, "Well, you can just wait over there for your attorney right there." She thought she was the defendant. So my jaw is dropping. I'm like, oh my gosh. And she goes, I said, "What did you do?" And she goes, "Well, I just said, no, I'm Amber Fitzgerald, and I'm with Fitzgerald something, blah, blah, blah." And the woman said, "Oh, I didn't know that they let paralegals do depositions." Let's just dig that hole a little deeper. My reaction was just like yours. I was like flabbergasted. I'm like, that's not one strike, that's two. First you thought she was the defendant, she couldn't possibly be the attorney, and then she couldn't possibly be the attorney. If she's a black woman, she must be here to assist, right? Insult upon insult. And I said, "Oh my gosh, what did you do?" And she said, "You know, Kelly, I could have had that chip on my shoulder. I could have gone at her and just been like, that's a horrible thing to say, you're being presumptuous and blah, blah." And she goes, "I know she didn't mean it the way it sounded." She said, she's from a different generation. Most of the women in her generation didn't even work. They were wives and homemakers. And if they did work, they were probably clerical. She said, she said the wrong thing. I don't think it's right, but I don't think she meant it the way it sounded. She goes, I just brought it back to business. She handed her a business card and she said, "I'm Amber Fitzgerald. I'm with Thompson, Fitzgerald, and Smithson or whatever, and I'm going to wait for my client right over here. Is that all right?" And by handing her her card and bringing the conversation back to business, the woman, the receptionist, knew exactly what she had done, and she was mortified. So it didn't need to go to swords. It didn't need to become a chip on your shoulder and let me give you a lecture. Let people off the hook sometimes. I was just actually here in Charlotte 10 days ago, and I was speaking for Daimler. And I was talking to Daimler about this, and the president of their North American truck plant came up to me afterwards, and she said, "Thank you for saying this about this." She goes, "Because in this very litigious society that we live in, everybody's quick to slap a lawsuit down or pick a fight or whatever." And she goes, "Sometimes people are going to say the wrong thing." And she gave me an example, and she said that they had an engineer who was sitting in one of their meetings at Daimler. And, you know, engineers are always about showing how smart they are to the rest of the world. And this guy said, "Well, that's the most retarded idea I've ever heard." Now, you know and I know that he doesn't mean to mock disabled people, but he was using the word retarded. And she said, "We could have gotten all up in arms, but instead we just were like, you know, Robert, please don't say that word. I know you didn't mean it the way it sounded. Please don't use that word." And, you know, and then he was like, "Oh, he's probably said that word all of his life. He doesn't even realize he's saying it." So every once in a while, just understand that people are going to say the wrong thing. Forgive. Assume goodwill. And I know that in this day and age, it is very hard to maintain respectful boundaries with people who are different from us. Our country is more divided. Our society is more divided than ever before. I don't really understand why everyone is so angry. Everyone seems angry about stuff, and it's hard to come together when there's anger in the room. But if there is mutual respect, then anger doesn't have a place at that table. And I just want to offer this as an example. Those of you who are chuckling know who these people are. If you don't know who these people are, it's Mary Matalin and James Carville. Mary Matalin was the Republican strategist for Bush, and Carville was the Democratic campaign strategist for Clinton. So not only were they Republicans and Democrats, they were literally the heads of the presidential campaign. Ideologically, they could not be more different. They met on the campaign trail and they fell in love and they got married. How many of you would marry someone with vastly different ideological views? Most of us wouldn't. That's kind of a deal breaker for some of us. I think this is profound because despite their vast ideological differences, they fell in love. They fell in love. And there was an interview with James Carville that I was listening to recently, and the interviewer said, was there ever, do you guys talk about stuff? Do you fight? And he goes, all the time. All the time. We do not see eye to eye on anything. But there's so much respect between the two of them that just because I don't see eye to eye with you doesn't make you a bad person, doesn't mean I hate you. It's just we don't see eye to eye. And this interviewer said, was there ever anything that was so contentious that you could not talk about it? And he goes, yeah, the Iraq War. It was so bad in our household, we had to table it. We just couldn't talk about it. That's real. But so is the mutual respect that keeps them together. And they wrote this book, Love and War, 20 years, 3 presidents, 2 daughters, and 1 Louisiana home. Here's what I think. If they can do it, we can do it. Right? You're not having to marry the people that you're working with that are different from you. You don't have to marry the customers that you're working with who are different from you. You just have to respect them. It's hard to do this. That's why this is such an unusual couple, and everyone in the world looks at them and goes, how do they do this? But the respect is so strong that it gets them through the stuff that's really, really tough. Things are changing. And some of this is provocative, and some of this you might not like. Some of this makes you uncomfortable. All of that's okay. You just have to understand what's changing and how it affects your business.